Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Danter Banter Wednesday night edition, episode number 4. Nate's multitasking tonight. He's here to muddy the waters, tape the wounds, and if we're not good, we stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Right, Nate?
And if we're really bad,
I'll try to move you guys around while I'm here.
Hey, but what room are you in?
What room am I in right now?
Yeah.
This will be Grace and Anila. So our 4-year-old and our 3-year-old.
See that little escape hatch he's got in the ceiling there? There you go. A little in the corner there. It's a little escape hatch. That's where all the Bitcoin's going to go.
That's where I'm hiding the Bitcoins.
All the Bitcoins should be on a ledger.
That's where the ledger is.
Or something
similar. Do you see the ledge? The ledger? It's up there.
That's good. So what's up?
Right,
we got
this is all of my Bitcoin right here.
Oh, nice. We got Ken in the house. Ken is he sounds like he texted me. He's got a lot of overtime that he's doing, and I don't blame him for not being able to make tonight. Oh, there we have pizza, and
no, not tonight, dude.
Oh, not tonight.
No, I'm sitting waiting at the dealership for somebody. I'm still trying to do that during the weekdays. I'm only doing pizzas on the weekends.
Oh, that's Ryan. I thought it was a pizza delivery guy.
What? Please tell me you did not know that was Ryan.
Oh, it's a joke.
Oh, Jesus.
No. That's the Lord.
My side, your side. My side, your side. You know.
No. Well, if
the guy doesn't come in 20 minutes, I'm just going to head home or whatever. But I might be in and out if he does come. So just an FYI. If he comes, I got to leave. Is what I'm saying.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, I got Gary in the house. We got Phil. Hey, Phil, how's it going down there in the US of A? Got MC. We got Nate in the bottom left is joining us tonight. And so what's going on? And Jill. Hey, Jill. What's going on, everyone? Loving this stuff that's happening in our world of whatever.
I just can't wait till he pulls out the power tools and we have to talk over them.
Who?
Nate.
Okay, so number one, there's no power tools for mudding.
Oh, okay.
Oh Jesus.
Well,
what's the that's where you get tool. That's the matter with your batter, right?
Yeah. I just wouldn't recommend licking that one.
I'll try to mute myself if I use any power tools, Candace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got a question for you. I was reading something on this Russian-Ukraine war, blah, 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 blah. And I got to thinking. And I thought to myself, how do you determine if someone has won the war or not? What determines that?
Well,
does a ref get in and raise one hand and say you win?
No, one country has to cede to the other country. There needs to be some kind of a agreement, and then Russia would, for example, if Russia wins, then Ukraine just has to say, okay, we give up whatever amount of land, and then Russia would just fortify that land. Or if Ukraine wins, and I don't see Ukraine winning. I mean, honestly, giving Ukraine a whole bunch of weapons and defensive systems now is basically just putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable. With this type of support that we're giving them, I don't think they can win in the long terms.
Well, if Russia is able to hold on to that, I guess, eastern front of Ukraine and maintain that eastern front of Ukraine on the border of Russia and then ceases to push forward into Ukraine, is that not a de facto win? At the end of the day, that's their land now. They've claimed it. Now it would be on Ukraine to initiate an offense against them. Kind of thing. That's what I would have thought, is if they can hold that eastern front for a certain amount of time and force Ukraine to go offensive on their own territory, then they've won, really, in my opinion. Hard to say, though.
I'm so I didn't pay that much attention growing up to all the wars and stuff, and what
I
it
mean,
meant.
you've been through a lot of them, like World War One, World War Two, the Korean War, all of them.
Ha!
Anyway, dash to dash, dot to dot, right?
Mhm.
But I don't understand how the rest of the world can let two countries who don't see eye to eye continue to screw the rest of the world up so much.
There's
And it just
one reason. It's called nuclear weapons.
hang on a sec, Nate. Hang on a sec. Say that again.
This is like my biggest gripe, Tim. They just keep reporting on how poor Ukraine is right now and how sad it is and everything. Why don't they just step in and stop it? Why don't the other European countries, the bigger ones, why doesn't Britain and Germany and all these guys, there's a reason behind it. Yeah. What? They don't want Russia to be against them. They're already giving them guns, so why don't they just step in and say, all right, this is done. We're done with what you're doing. You're destroying people's lives. We're going to step in, and that's it. Or are they afraid that someone's going to launch a nuke, and then that's going to be...
That's what it is. I mean, Russia said, if you get involved, we will retaliate, and you will see things that you've never seen in history before.
And it's not the Staples one where it says that was easy. You know what I mean? It's not. This is, and that's exactly what intimidation is, and it's psychological warfare is what it is, really. All this other stuff to me is just fluff and storing their power and just bombing the crap out of it and just actually devaluing that country is what they're doing.
Well, I mean, how it would begin is if NATO were to put forces in Ukraine, Russia would be very tempted to use a tactical nuke on those forces. And then because of that, NATO has no real choice. They have to retaliate with a tactical nuke. And that's where the road to escalation begins. And before long, we all live in a glowing world.
Yeah. I don't know at what point I would be keenly interested to know where China and how they would play out, because that's sort of the wild card right now, because I think they're probably the only other ones that we should be really worried about is, if someone does something crazy, what's China going to do? Because I think we kind of feel that they're sort of backing and on the side of Russia. No, they may not be. They may just be saying that for the purpose of saying that and for intimidation purposes.
I think what China is doing right now is they're looking at this Russia-Ukraine thing as a case study for them going into Taiwan, because they're looking to see, well, okay, let's see what the NATO response is. All right, so if we go into Taiwan, we should expect a similar response. But there's different treaties. That's the problem. Like the U.S. has stronger treaties with Taiwan than what.
But China, the mighty China. I mean, they're big, they're powerful, they're influential. Really, do they really need to be worried about the UN if they were to do something? Do they really need to be worried about the UN, or are they just so big it's just a matter of screw that?
Here's the thing.
And they'll go and they'll do whatever they want to do. The only thing that they should be scared of is the economic sanctions. Is that what's holding it back, and it's not the force part of it?
Well, no. I think another part of it, too, is that China and the U.S. could have a conventional war without it escalating to nukes, for the simple reason that China is not interested in destroying the world in that way. China is all about the finance. They want to rule the world, but they want to rule it economically. So China could conceivably go into Taiwan. The Americans could start a land campaign or an air campaign against them without the escalation. Russia's a completely different beast. Russia, to them, it's more or less honor, and it's more or less, we will win at any cost. So it's that whole different dichotomy between the two. So that's kind of the difference between them. Like I would have rather had China go into Taiwan than Russia go into Ukraine, because that would have been a much more stable situation long term.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, Russia can only go so far with what they're doing before they're going to hit someone or the UN or a country that's UN related, or the UN just says that's it, that's enough. We as the minions of this world, we have no idea what is floating off our waters. We have no idea, what is up in the air, up in orbit. We have no idea what
here's
that
the
is.
thing: both the U.S. and Russia, most of their nukes are on subs. They have a lot of them there, and they're not that far offshore.
Yeah.
So even if we did like a first strike and completely annihilated Russia, they've got enough nukes on subs that we're getting annihilated. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And that goes both directions, of course, hence mutually assured destruction.
Not that I'm going to have like Russia's back here for a sec, but to go on to like Tim's point, where at what point does the UN or NATO say, step off when Russia's encroaching, yada, yada, yada? At what point, too, are we so ignorant that Russia can't say back off when NATO continuously expands and expands and expands into what used to be Russian territory, right? So like there's two different sides to that coin. So as entitled as we feel as a part of the United Nations and a NATO group or whatever, they probably feel equally as entitled for the exact same reasons, right? So I just wanted to put that out there, but they're probably feeling a lot of the same stuff that we're feeling with respect to encroachment.
How long can Russia's economy, with all these sanctions, continue to survive and to still maintain? I mean, at some point you would think to me, it seems the severity of sanctions that are put on Russia this time around are pretty darn tough, right?
But the problem with the sanctions, though, dude, is that like when they went this hard on sanctions, it forced them to act so quickly and so aggressively with their partners in India and China that they set up this new coalition that didn't exist it existed, but not in the same breath or in the same strength kind of thing. Like this new coalition, they're getting around these sanctions left and right. It's almost irrelevant. Russian oil is going to Saudi Arabia, and then Saudi Arabian oil is going to Montreal. Right? So it's the exact same thing. Like, if anything, I'd be willing to bet that sanctions are not going to come down as hard in the future because they backfired so massively this time with respect to how China and Russia becoming so close is probably the most dangerous thing ever.
And
but
also,
sorry.
But keep in mind as well, Russia had a lot of time to prepare for this. They knew the sanctions were coming. They've been stockpiling probably for years to prepare for this. So they're probably in better shape than we even think they are.
Probably. I mean, the guy's not stupid. He's not stupid by any means. I think if anything, we don't know what to believe, even in our own media frenzy in North America. We don't know what to believe. We're fed what we're told and what the narrative of the day is, to be honest with you. What goes on behind the scenes would probably just freak us all out. It's the same as I knew a couple of OPP officers that were down in the Chatham and the Windsor area, and they said that if we knew half of the stuff that they knew of with these cells, okay, that had bought land and had bought churches and had bought communities, old community centers and stuff like that, we wouldn't sleep at night. So there's only stuff that is released to us on a need-to-know basis.
Well, I mean,
and that's in our backyard.
Society in a way, society is need to know. I mean, if you're a world leader and you know something that is going to cause mass panic, you're not going to release it and destabilize the world.
No.
It would make no sense.
Yeah.
A lot of times what you have to do is if you've got earth-shattering information, you've kind of got to drip feed it, let people slowly adapt to it before they are finally let in on how bad something really is. Mm-hmm. You take it, if there were, let's say there was a big asteroid on the way here, we're not going to know until, there's not a lot of time left.
Yeah.
Because of just the way it would destabilize. And pretty much when we would know is when amateur astronomers are starting to find it.
Well, I hate to draw a comparison, but it's sort of, I have a feeling that's a really strong comparison to 9/11. I think they knew what was going on. I just think that they didn't know when it was going on. And once the flip switch had been flipped, they didn't have time to do much about it.
It's one of these interesting things. Like when you look at 9/11, there's so many weird peculiarities. The biggest thing is the fact that the entire Eastern Seaboard defense, air defense, was all off doing war games. So they were completely out of the theater. So there was absolutely no defense. That does not make any sense at all. So I think, now I'm going to put on my tin hat for a moment, but I almost think, I don't think that the government planned it, but I think they found that it was going to happen. And I think they were sort of saying, well, okay, we can stop it, or we can let it happen. And then that will give us the ability to go into Iraq, because that's what something they desperately wanted to do at that time. And rubber stamped a whole bunch of different security type things and surveillance things that they wanted to have in place. So
how do you live with yourself? Sacrificing that many people to go and do something else for the greater of good. How do you sleep at night doing that kind of stuff?
I think I think when you get to that point politically, like I know a lot of us, we say, okay, if we were in charge, this is how we would run things. But I think when you get that amount of power, it's that whole saying that, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think they get to a point that they don't even see people as people per se. They just sort of see people as numbers. And then when you're playing it that way, where you're playing with numbers opposed to actual people, it's just so much easier that you can dissociate yourself from any kind of emotion about it. And that's how they make decisions. And it kind of works that way. If you take about a wartime general, when they're sending their troops in, they can't be sitting there thinking about, okay, oh God, Johnny, and he's got a wife at home and he's probably going to die. They can only think about how many troops do I have?
Yeah.
What's going to be the casualties? How can I minimize that?
It's on a scale.
You know,
it's on a scale of risk. It's a risk scale. It's calculated. It's a calculated loss ratio to achieve. I'm going to give up X amount of troops to take this hill, if you will. It's just, I don't know. I'm not bred that way. It's just a shame that people in the world think that way and that it actually goes on. I'm shocked. It's very disheartening.
I think most of the people who probably wouldn't think that way usually don't have the ability to lie enough to get themselves into politics.
Yeah. Well.
It's a sad truth of the world that those people are out there, but
I'm kind of glad that I didn't get into politics, even at the municipal level of being a councillor here in Oakville, because although it's on a small scale, there's stuff that goes on that's
absolutely.
That's, nothing to, that goes on, at that level of the government, higher governments and stuff like that. But, just other stuff that goes on. And it really is, you are just listening to people complain about stuff that you're never, ever going to be able to change, because for the greater of the good, the municipality has a bigger vision and its tail is wagged by another part of the government that's either the provincial or the federal branch, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, so.
Yeah.
And Len said here, Russia is rumored to default on one of their loans. I heard that as well.
I have heard that as well.
Yeah. And I don't know how that's going to play out. Because that's going to take all these people who loan the money and say, I want my money back somehow, right? And it's like, where the hell do they get the money?
Sell some Bitcoin. It's an interesting thing. Whether or not Russia defaulted on a loan, I think Russia's at a point that they probably don't care, depending on who the holder of the loan is. If I had countries that are sanctioning me, and they're going to be sanctioning me for years, and if I owe them money, I'm not worried about paying them back.
No.
I may never pay them back. I just don't care.
Yeah, Candace nailed it on the head. Russia has absolutely zero incentive to satisfy loans for countries that are sanctioning them. They're going to default on so many loans, it's not even funny, and it probably won't impact them whatsoever.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that they're in poor shape. It just means that they don't give an F.
Well, it's like the I don't know if you ever saw those movie. It was called the Too Big to Fail and The Big Short.
I've seen The Big Short.
Yeah, and it's Too Big to Fail was another one that that I think one of them really upset Nancy just because of it was like they're so big that they keep throwing money at them because they're so much in debt that they have no choice but to feed the junkie to keep them going. And it's like, what do you do to a junkie that's not going to get off? You keep feeding them the stuff until, and then you don't die. And it's like, they don't die sometimes, you know what I mean? They just keep on ticking like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nate's going to say something.
Another thing to consider with the Russian loan thing is that the more and more countries get off of the US dollar being the base of currency for trade, then that's going to impact the need to even pay these loans back in the first place, not just for Russia, but for countries like China too. If they start settling in the oil, for instance, in their native currency, bad news bears for any American debt holder, for instance. But anyway, yeah.
Nate, what were you going to say?
Okay, I'm going to go fully put the tin hat on. Is it all big? Is it all just a giant distraction? And there's something else going on. And if there is, what is that something? Because there just seems to be like, the whole thing that's happened over the last 2 years happened. And then the trucks go to Ottawa. And then shortly after that, you have the thing in Hollywood with a guy punching a guy on stage. And then all of a sudden Ukraine. And then also like everything just, the Johnny Depp trial. Like there's all these things that are just like capturing but are there other things getting pushed through? Like in Canada, Bill C-11 just got pushed through. And how many people actually knew about that they're going to be censoring?
I know about it. This is why I'm doing this Canadian Heritage Moment so that we can get some C-11 approved content on here.
Right? Yeah. And that's what we're doing right here. This is just Canadian Heritage content.
Can I throw you a really bizarre theory?
Yeah, sure.
Let's put my tinfoil hat on. So as all of this other crap is completely distracting everything, what's been happening also in the world? The government's been coming out all about the UFOs, saying that they're real and they've been going on. There's been all these news conferences about it, but nobody's paying attention to it. Nobody.
And it's another thing. I read an article by I don't read the CBC or CTV ever, but my wife tipped me off to an article that in BC they've been testing. Okay, this is going to go like full on tinfoil hat for you guys, but the CBC reported on this. In BC, they've been testing chemicals being released in the sky to change the weather, and they found it successful. Now that is full on conspiracy theory stuff, like the chemtrails and all that, and people have been going on that for years. Oh, the chemtrails. But now they're saying, oh yeah, actually it's true. Yeah, there are chemtrails, and we're using.
I don't even know if that's a secret though, because like Calgary's been doing that for years over downtown to prevent hail damage, and like the planes are constantly soaking the downtown core to change the clouds so that there's no hail affecting downtown.
What?
Yeah,
no, it's if you put
I thought this was a conspiracy. Be quiet, you conspiracy theorists.
No, what happens is when you drop silver nitrate and you see the clouds with it, the silver nitrate, because of its weight, some of the water particles will start to collect around it, and what doesn't stop the hail, but it makes the hail smaller.
What do clowns have to do with it?
Clouds.
Clouds. I thought you said clowns. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, now we brought clowns into this.
They're dropping the clowns.
Oh my God. Nate, let me ask you a question.
Skydiving clouds.
Let me ask you a question, Nate, because you deal with a congregation, you deal with a fairly large populace having to be involved with them. Do you have a consensus feeling from your congregation and the people that you get a sense that there is more of an uneasiness, and it's like I can't put my finger on it with people these days than it was prior to COVID? Do you feel that it's just like something doesn't, you get that sense from them that something doesn't feel right, that something is off, or what? Like, I mean, because I ask you that because you deal with a large group of people and you get to know these people, and that's your job. So I'm thinking, what is your feeling? What are your vibes back based on everything that's going on in the world, the COVID and all this and that?
There's this real uneasiness for people just trying to figure out what other people are thinking, and there was like a time where you didn't think about that stuff. You weren't like, I'm having a conversation with Tim and I'm not thinking about how Tim's going to react or what Tim's going to say, or I'm not guarding my words. I'm just having a conversation. But now there's like this shift in like just social interaction where people are guarded more and more, and they're uneasy. They don't know what people are thinking. They don't know if I say this, is it going to offend someone? Am I like, that's completely happening. But I think that's happening even in general society.
And it's funny because when you say that, I don't want to offend them and I don't want to do this and that, I immediately go to the place of masks. I don't want to offend someone with masks and stuff. So it all starts with the masks. It all starts with trying to make sure that we're not going to contaminate someone else. You know what I mean? And now that the masks are off, that mindset and that mentality has stuck. And now we're gun shy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think it goes much deeper than that. I mean, obviously, what's happened with social media is it's very easy to really offend people. Like, almost anything you've said, even if it's something you said 10 years ago, could come back and bite you in the butt today. It's just one of those things. Like, I know myself, on Facebook, when it shows you posts that you made in the past, I read that every day when it comes up, and I've deleted a couple of them. I'm like, yeah, that one could get me in trouble, or that one could get me in trouble. But
why? Why are you now thinking that that's going to get you into trouble? You see, that's the same thing, Candace. That's the same thing as me putting up and saying, back in the old days, we had All in the Family, we had the Jeffersons, we had Chico and the Man, we had Sanford and Son, and not, they called an ace, and we didn't have to worry about this crap.
That's
true. We didn't have to worry about this crap. We called it a bigot. We called them whatever it was. We called it. We got on with life. Today, oh, heaven forbid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not even super worried about that. I mean, I don't mind abiding by, the social norms that we're using today. I draw that line at, if I was using social norms 10 years ago, I shouldn't be thrashed today for saying something that everybody would have said 10 years ago.
Then why are we changing the name of things like Dundas and McKinsey and all of this stuff?
Well, and that's, once again, it's going back to, well, I'll give you an example. Look at Halifax. I think is it Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew School, that they're changing the name because Prince Andrew apparently is now, being, canceled a little bit. So they're like, oh, we got to rename the school now. It's like, there's been a lot of statues that have come down and things like that. And but here's the thing, and I guess this is my biggest complaint about that is, humans were shits many years ago. I mean, we did.
You said shits, not ships, right?
That's right. I did say shits this time. We were shits. Humans were shits, and not Shih Tzus, the dogs, but humans were bad.
What do you mean bad? What do you mean bad?
Oh, well, you go far enough back, and we used to be slave owners. We used to mistreat women. Everything. We've done everything in the past. But
what was our comparison back then?
But here's the thing. Let me make the point first.
All right.
The point I'm making is that when we say, okay, oh, well, that person may have owned a slave, we got to destroy their statue. Instead of destroying their statue, I would be more inclined to add a placard to, sort of explain the wrongdoing so that people can learn. Because if we whitewash all of our history, then people aren't going to learn from history. Because that's what history is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a teaching tool so that we can become better people in the present.
And that's the same as what we do modern day, where you get a drug company or a cigarette company that produces a killing product, and they sell it to make profit and to capitalize on it. But then in the same respect, they turn around and they open up rehab centers or donate money to cancer research and all this and that to save grace. Same diff.
Or you could say they're playing both sides.
Right.
You know, I mean, they know that their product is going to lead to a certain place, and they're just providing that place so that they can still continue the money after the person's come to their senses. So, you know, it's kind of a sad situation. I mean, the way it all works. But now at the same time, most of us are investors. So, you know, so I can honestly say I do not know if every company I invest in has a perfect track record. I'm sure at least maybe one or two don't. There's some that I do know really well, but
Nate?
he looks like he's pondering.
I am. So when we take it, so as like a pastor, when we take a topic out of the Bible and we exegete it, which means we like basically break it down and explain it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things is we say context is king. Context is king. So whenever you look at something that happened 2,000 years ago, you have to see what was that context? Why is this significant? I'll give you a very simple example. There's a story about a dad that has two sons. And one of his sons runs off, takes all of his money, says, I want my entire inheritance now, and I'm going on the town. And he does that, sleeps with pigs by the end of it, and then wants to go back to his dad, and then finally goes back to his dad and says, you know, please just let me like live in your pig pen so that I can survive. And no, his dad throws him a party and all that. Okay, so that's a cool story. And if we take today's context and we're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But when you take it into the Hebrew Jewish context, when he asked his dad for that money,
Mm-hmm.
that immediately was as if the son in that culture at that time was saying, I wish you were dead. I wish you were dead. Give me my inheritance now. I wish you were not alive and you were. So a father would not have given him that money, but he did in this context. And then when the son came back, it actually says that the father girded up his loins and ran to his son. And what girding up your loins means is they used to wear like almost a dress. Girding up your loins is pulling it up above your kneecaps
So you don't
and
trip.
running as hard as you can. A Jewish man leading in a house at that point in time would never have done that. That would have been one of like the most embarrassing things you could ever do. No one would ever do that. And then he had a feast for his son again. Like, so context is king. What are we going to look back in 2045 and see the crazy things that are happening right now and analyze them by our context in 2035? So when guys had slave owners in 2022, that's absolutely ridiculous. Should not happen. It still happens. There are still slaves in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if anyone knew that, but that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we like look through the lens of now to then, there's a bridge and there's a river, and we have to be able to join those two contexts together. So I don't know. There has to be context in any of the things that they do. For goodness sake, they tore down, when BLM was going through the US, they were tearing down statues of Black African Americans that actually helped free slaves. Just because it was a statue in like Carolina. And they're like, oh, we got to tear this one down. We got to tear this one down. There's a lot of things that, I don't know. There's a lot of crazy things. Tim, you're talking about like the news and that and what they're saying on the news. Why isn't anyone talking about how the BLM leaders actually never put any money towards the BLM like charity? Only $30,000 actually went to the charity. The rest of the millions went to buy homes, went to buy big boats, went to buy, and right now the leader of that movement is like being prosecuted. Why don't they talk about that anymore? Like anyway, I'm going to go on forever, but yeah, I think context is a big thing. And we have to measure it and realize, that was a time in history. That was a bad time. That was a very bad time.
Have we lost the ability to put things into context, though?
Yeah. Have we? Although, Europeans coming across that was terrible. They just came across and tried to colonize and Europeanize everyone. And yes, that was terrible. Absolutely. History sucks most of the time. Most of the time there's dark history. In Christian history, when Martin Luther nailed his thesis to the wall, about 25 years later, there was another movement called the Anabaptists that actually started doing adult baptism, and the Protestants started killing them because they were adult baptizing. That's in history. And so there's just, history's terrible is what I'm trying to say. And maybe 20, 30 years from now, we're going to say, wow, that was a terrible time too. But don't erase it. Learn from it, because we suck at learning from everything.
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon does the same thing as Hitler, or Hitler does the same thing as Napoleon, I suppose. Did that guy not learn from history?
Yeah.
No one learns from history.
I mean, when you look at that future, I mean, kids in 2045 are going to be laughing at the thought that people in 2022 would practically go to war with each other because they have a different opinion. It's ludicrous in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of things that I saw. It was either an Instagram reel or a TikTok, and it was like this generation, like I think it was Generation X or Z or whatever. They're like, I'm gonna play a sound for you that it was the most annoying sound in the world, and the generation that's sitting beside me, it was like a mom and a daughter, and it's like the generation that's sitting beside me will never know what this means, and it was like. Dial-up internet. So and the daughter was like, "What is that sound? Like, what is that?" But anyway,
yeah, I'll remember that sound because I used to, in the middle of the night when I was hooking onto the internet, I was trying not to wake up my mom, so I'd be blowing, I'd be blowing next week, going as though I was drowning it out.
Oh dear.
I know.
You've got mail.
And my favorite, yeah, exactly. The AOL guy. You got mail.
Oh my God, does that ever date us? Holy jumping.
I remember when the X-Files movie came out, it's like my brother decided, I'm going to download the trailer. So it took him 8 hours to download that trailer.
Napster, that was the days of Napster. That was the day that mom or dad would pick up the phone. Get off that stupid thing. I need to make a call, right? It's like
good old ICQ.
Oh my God. Corel was the first sort of thing out of Ottawa. They were the first sort of word processing and Excel and stuff like that, weren't they? They were the first ones out of the books. Oh dear. Well, I don't know. It's.
Yeah. I mean, there's still hope. That's the big thing. I mean, I think there's only so far you can push people before people are going to start to not push back, but they're going to start to meld a bit more and start to really, recapture the whole idea of community.
I don't know. Are they ever gonna get community? Is community now more a social networking thing than it is an actual in-person thing? We're about to hold down here in the Bronte Harbor here. It is going to be 10,000 people will converge here for Canada Day celebrations. You know what I mean? You don't, and it doesn't seem that there's that sitting around the table for Sunday night dinner, sitting around the night table for dinner every night. You know what I mean? All that stuff that we grew up with. And maybe I'm an old fart. And maybe that time has passed. And maybe it's just a new way of life out there. But that's the way this kid grew up in Mayberry.
No, it'll come back, except for it'll happen in the metaverse.
Jeez.
Yeah,
and the little rats will still get out of the dishes because then they can just say the metaverse guy will come and do the dishes, right?
Well,
That's right.
here's the thing, though. I mean,
Oh.
if you try to look at the big picture of the way technology is developing and with the metaverse and why there's so much stress on it, is eventually, and then you bring climate change into that, you've got that perfect recipe for people never going anywhere, for them locking people society in place. Because you'll be able to just do everything with your headset. You just put your headset on, you're in another world. I know Ryan's always going on about Ready Player One, but we are heading in that direction. Where it will be a virtual world, and that you may be born and you may never leave the city you're born in. Everything will happen all into the metaverse.
Wow. Wow. Is this going to have smell? Is this going to have like this metaverse? Are you going to have the ability to smell? You're going to be able to feel the dampness, the cold. Are you going to be able to feel the wind? Like, are you going to be able to get those senses that you get when you walk out the front door?
Have you ever been to a 4D movie?
A what?
A 4D movie.
No.
So with the 4DX movies, you're in a chair that moves. Now, depending on in the bigger cities, so like for example in Toronto, I went to see Rogue One in 4DX, and so every time the ship was moving, my chair was moving the same way as the ship. If somebody fired a blaster, something would shoot air at my head, and it would go by. My hair would even go up in the air from it. If something was burning, there'd be a smoke smell that would then start coming up. So it just shows that's what we're heading towards. Now, it's going to be a little bit different, I think, when you're doing it at home. It's probably going to be a point where we actually start tying into, if you start talking about putting a chip in that we can then sort of communicate more directly with the brain, then that would be able to create everything from smell, touch, sense.
So what you're saying is that chip in our brain would not actually execute a actual smell or whatever, but what it would do is it would cross whatever the brain does. To say this is what it smells like because it's a memory.
Sort of like in that Canadian Heritage moment where she's like, "I smell toast, doctor." If you remember that one. No. The epilepsy one where they're operating on her and they touch the electrode to a part of her brain and she was like, "I smell toast."
No.
Everybody in the audience gets that one. It's just you that doesn't.
Oh.
Burnt toast.
Burnt toast. Well, I equivalent burnt toast with having a heart attack or something.
Well, no, because what had happened, I guess I'll explain the heritage moment, is that this woman had epilepsy, and whenever she was having seizures, she was smelling burnt toast. So they cut open her skull, and they were using electrodes to stimulate parts of her brain. And then when they found this part they were looking for, she smelled burnt toast because she was conscious while they were doing it. Okay. That was how they were able to isolate it. It was part of Canadian Heritage Moment because that was where we found a way to sort of help with epilepsy.
Yeah.
And you see, Scott DeRosa remembers it.
Yeah, well,
if Scott remembers it, then it's a big deal.
You remember that, Nate?
No.
Yes, but he was probably busy building another house or something.
That's right.
Constructing the farm, mopping the cow.
I really am. You just look out at the garden. You guys see the garden through the window or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, there's Scott. Scott knows all of them. I need those baskets back.
Hilarious.
Where Canada invented basketball.
You notice he hasn't got a picture of one of his children out in the field there because that'll get him into trouble.
That's right. It would.
Of course, it's alarming that the only one
that would send the wrong
the one where they destroy a city.
Nate, that would send the wrong context.
Everyone would think we were in 1902.
Oh Jesus!
With the Newsies.
Oh dear.
It's a great movie, by the way.
So now, moving ship here, Ontario, our premier looks like he's going to live up to his promise of reducing the gas by 5.7%. Was one of his election promises on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really care?
No.
It's a promise he delivered on. I care. Does the price matter? Not a bit.
That's what I mean.
I find it so hilarious. I want to reach out and I want to strangle the newspaper or the publication that says, we're in for a break. It's going down 3 cents, under $2. I think, well,
What's that
everybody
gonna
line
save
up for
you?
the Kool-Aid. Here we go.
What will that save you? Maybe $5 a month?
Not the way I go through gas, and I'm sure not the way Nate goes through gas. Doesn't even matter.
I had a moment.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I had a moment a few weeks ago with my wife where we were driving in Brantford, and there's a reservation,
Yep.
Six Nations Reserve in Brantford,
Yep.
and I actually filled up for $1.60.
Yep.
Okay. And I was like, wow, what a deal. You know what? A year ago, I would not have said, wow, what a deal.
No, I get
Like, these are the things that I think about. I'm like, am I being conditioned? Like,
Yes.
the prices are so crazy high, and then all of a sudden they drop to like $1.90, and people are like lining up. Are we being conditioned?
Well, here's the thing about inflation.
We're being desensitized so that when they bring it down to something that's absolutely unacceptable, we go, thank you.
Here's one thing that people I think are missing about deflation is that inflation, we're not trying to make it down to a deflationary rate. We're trying to take it down to 2%, which basically means that by the time we get everything back down to 2% or 2 to 3% inflation, we're going to be stuck with the prices that we're at. And it just means that it's going to slow down how much it goes up every year. It'll be back to the way it normally rises. So you might see where you will see drops in prices are ones that are entirely supply chain related. That's where we'll see the prices come back. Now, people might be fooled into thinking, oh my God, the Bank of Canada managed to get all the prices back. It's like, no, we finally got supplies and the supply chain is now moving. So that's going to be interesting because a lot of people are not going to be smart enough, I think, to realize that, that it's not the government, it's not the Bank of Canada that's saving everybody's butt. It's just that we finally got over that giant hump. China's no longer shutting down ports every 2 days.
I don't even know that I believe that anymore. I mean, how can China have another bloody outbreak and then start shutting stuff down? How can they have another outbreak?
Well, there is the BA5. Apparently, New York is now saying that they're about to have an outbreak. So, I mean, this is the thing. This virus it's not going away, but China has overreacted to it at this point. Now,
are they manipulating?
I don't know if I'd say manipulating. I think what it was is they were so focused on those friggin' Olympics that they put that policy, the zero tolerance policy, was a result to the Olympics. It's basically like, hey, we are not going to lose the Olympics. The Olympics are not going to get canceled. We'll throw this zero policy in there, and they did that. They just haven't removed it yet. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna have, because COVID's with us for life now, and there's always going to be some variant of some sort that comes along. Yep. So China just needs to sort of say, okay, yeah, it's just like the flu now. Let's just treat it as such and stop being ridiculous and shutting down whole cities because one person has the sniffles.
Why don't they start tracking people that get diabetes and all the deaths from diabetes? Why don't they start doing that? Why don't they start tracking all the people that are dying daily of cancer? Why don't they start doing that? Because we would be terrified of cancer. We would be terrified of diabetes. And we'd be terrified of all these crazy things.
Because, Nate, it's a money machine. Cancer research and diabetes research is a money machine. Why would you rock that boat? The moment you get a cure, away goes the funding.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it's horrible. I'd be darn sure to put money down that there's a cure already for that stuff.
Well, I know that there is. I was it at Halifax? I think it was at Halifax. They're working on some kind of I don't know if it was a viral type attack on cancers, and they had a small trial. I think it was a trial of about 12 people, and every single person in the trial had 100% remission.
Oh wow!
So they need to do more, but it could be a game changer when it comes to cancer. So cancer, that may be some good news. We normally don't get good news, but.
Do you know what I learned over the weekend?
How it counts?
Let me count to 10 on that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, there we go. That when you get a heart transplant, the best you're going to get out of that transplant is 10 years.
Yeah, they're not.
I didn't realize that.
It's one of the reasons why people need to stop being so uppity about stem cell research. Because with stem cells, once we get deep enough into stem cells, they'll be able to just grow you a brand new heart, and it will last you the rest of your life. And you won't have to, like, if you got a mechanical heart now, you're going in, every 10 years or so to get it fixed. Even a regular heart transplant, if you get a heart transplant from somebody else, you've got to realize that is not part of your body. Your body is, it's looking at it like it wants to attack it. That's why you end up taking anti-rejection pills and things like that, because your body's immune system is like, hey, no, that's not us. And it wants to attack. So there is some amount of damage that is happening to that new heart. It's one of the reasons that your ticker's not going to be there with you for the next 50 years.
Yeah. Interesting. Hey, Nate, how are these Shake Pay squads that we've put up? Is that a competition?
No,
No.
no, it's not a competition right now. And the Shake Pay squads, unless you're part of a freaking Rockstar squad, it is actually a really crappy deal for people who were shaking every day trying to get to their 1,000 sats. But that's kind of the thing about it. I don't know. You have to be part of a Rockstar squad now. Otherwise, you got to wait 365 days to get your 1,000 sats, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I didn't get into a Shake squad is that I just don't use it enough to justify, being last place on somebody's team.
Yeah.
Well, they don't count it like that. We don't know who uses it and who doesn't use it. Well, we know that if you don't use it, you're called a rookie. But I don't know how much, for instance, the other people actually use it. I get about 80 sats a day or whatever from our squad, and it's just, when you're thinking about trying to maximize the squad, it's like, even if I got 500 sats a day, we're talking about pennies at the end of the day. So it's just one of those things that I was like, cool little idea, but they definitely screwed us.
Nate,
dude,
what are we at, Nate? Aren't you our fearless leader on our team?
I am your fearless leader. I use my Shake Pay card for everything. So.
And what are we? Are we
I don't know what we're at, but we're getting between 300 to 800 sats a day. I told you to join my crew.
I did.
No, I was talking to Ryan.
Oh,
I'm obviously going to have to start my own high ride crew. Jeez.
But I'm literally doing a Shake Pay challenge. Like, I'm using it as much as I can.
Yeah, me too. It's pissing my accountant off because she says, you're not supposed to be doing the shareholder stuff and this and that. I said, this is about Bitcoin now. Forget that.
Mm-hmm.
This is about Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
I had, who I had start to follow me on Instagram was, I'm going to butcher this name, John Amoni. He's the CEO and co-founder of ShakePay.
There you go.
Yeah. Started following me either yesterday or today. Cool. So the government is now, next year, 2023, thank you very much, is now going to double what landlords can raise the rent by.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, but it's only 2.5%. Doesn't even count. That doesn't even tackle inflation, dude.
Nope.
It's a joke. And not to mention, it's actually like they think they're helping out landlords. It's hilarious. They're not helping out landlords. They're giving you guys a little tiny treat so that you stop bitching for 2 minutes. And then at that, they give all the tenants even more rights, and which, tenants need rights, but it's like, come on, man. Like, that was such a joke. 2.5%. Meanwhile, inflation's at 8%. It's like, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, little rant there.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, if you're a landlord, you can always play the find reasons to evict people so you can get people in at higher rates.
Easy. Just give them notice. I mean, if you're a landlord and you're really worried about this, just either sell the property to someone who wants to move in and give that 1 year notice, or let them finish the lease, or just give them the 1 year notice and say you have someone who wants to move in there. I mean, that's happening all over the place right now. Is landlords are starting to freak out. The tenant rules in Ontario are so unique to Ontario. I don't know how you can be a landlord in Ontario and actually make money and feel content and safe with your cash there. I don't know how. It's like Ontario is so backwards with that. It's mind-blowing. They punish people who work hard enough, save all their money to buy an income property, and now you're the worst scumbag on earth. And if you go to Ottawa Citizen articles on friggin' Facebook, you see people saying, oh, earning an income stream from a rental property is about as dirty as you can get. It's like, can you just shut it? Can you shut your face? Like, it is the most annoying thing listening to those people talk like that. But no, landlords in Ontario have the short end of the stick, as usual.
Well, at least I'm safer off under Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. And people wonder why people are doing Airbnb so much. And it's like,
And that's and you got to wonder why the municipalities are now putting in MAT taxes, municipal taxes for rentals, because they realize that the ones that are profitable are the Airbnb. So why not kick in on the gravy train?
Yeah, I was once a tenant, and a lawyer from LA went and bought the building that I was in. And when she came by to introduce herself to everybody individually, she brought like a nice bottle of wine. And as soon as I saw the nice bottle of wine, I was just like, okay, so I guess I'm getting a free month's rent as you evict everybody. And she was like, well, yeah. So it was kind of cool. I actually really liked that place though. So that part wasn't cool, but.
Nate's going to say something.
One thing for sure that people may or may not understand is landlords take a ton of risk to purchase a property, put their neck out there. And what do like people think, that they're just like getting a silver spoon in their mouth? I know a friend of mine, he owns like 70 properties. And it takes a ton of work for him to upkeep those properties, to make sure everything is good. If his interest rates go up, he's the one taking the hit on that. If the bank puts up his mortgage rates by like 4% when he has to renew, like he's just going to eat that. He can't just raise the rent up 4%. So I think it's people that don't understand capitalism, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I have friends that are just like, landlords are scum. Why are they scum?
Not.
They're buying properties. Usually they're buying dilapidated properties, fixing them up, and getting a tenant in there.
Yeah, and if you've ever been on the landlord side and participated in a long eviction, holy banana breads. Yeah, it can be really bad and a lot of work trying to get somebody out who's not paying rent.
Well, that's right, because they just have to show that they're trying to make an effort to pay it off, and they start the clock all over again.
Yeah, sometimes they'll appeal, and I know this one tenant, it took us forever to get him out, and this was in Stittsville. And once we did finally get him out, the sheer amount of damage before we could even look at renting, it was at least a month's worth just to get it back into shape.
Well, and how do you recoup that? Because that happens so often, Candace, where renters just decide to punch holes in the walls and like stick screwdrivers in the electrical sockets. And like, I hear nightmare stories from my friend, and just like, what is like, really?
Well, when you have no skin in the game, what do you expect from these people? That's why it's like listening to a tenant bitch about landlords is like a total waste of time. You know what I mean? Like, you've got zero skin in the game, absolutely nothing on the line. And not to mention, when the market's in a downturn like we're seeing right now, the landlords are effed. They're totally screwed up. The tenant doesn't feel any of this whatsoever. If anything, they're even better off, because if another variant comes down and they have even more reason not to pay rent, yada, yada, yada. It's such a joke. It's so mind-blowing how somebody, like, I would love it if, for instance, like if it was truly fair, if the cost of rent went up in proportion to the cost of the mortgage. Simple as that. And that would be hilarious, because tenants would not be able to stomach it. at all. They wouldn't even understand it. What do you mean my rent goes up? Well, that's the market, man. It's like they have no clue where they are in the world, which is why they have no skin in the game. They'll destroy your fucking property. And then what do you have? You have zero recourse. Zero recourse. Like, and not to mention Airbnb now is giving the option to do 3 month, 6 month, 9 month terms. Okay. So it's like you're finding Airbnb is now finding a loophole and a way around the Ontario laws, because you can still have a 6 months repeated type of lease on Airbnb. And at the same time, it'll protect the SH out of the landlord. So capitalism always finds a way to bypass stupid laws, period. Like, capitalism will always find a way to bypass something that's inefficient. And that's extremely inefficient, how they're treating landlords. It's brutal.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, not all tenants are that bad, but, you know, there are really good tenants out there too.
Yep.
And the same thing goes for landlords. There are tons of amazing landlords out there. Sure, there are the scum, and you know what the news does is they highlight the scum. They highlight those landlords that don't fix your toilet for 6 months. They highlight the landlords that are just garbage and just people that they're not even people. They're just like, they're like the people that are dog breeders that stick dogs in cages and call themselves breeders when you're a puppy farm and you're actually abusing animals just for monetary gain. Yeah, get rid of those. But the ones that are actually good, yeah, stop demonizing them. And then same thing with tenants. There are a lot of good tenants out there, like you said, Candace.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a ton of garbage ones out there too. So, like, I don't know. It always leans one way or the other, and usually leans against the landlord.
Now, the closest I've come to being a landlord, other than when I was working for a real estate company, but I know one point in Ottawa, long time ago, I rented a house, and it was about $1,000 for the house a month. And then I had 2 big rooms upstairs, so I rented out each room for $500 each, and then I just lived in the basement room. So they basically covered the entire rent. And then all I paid there was I paid a third of the cable and a third of the utilities. That was it.
But you could do stuff like that back then, right?
You could, yeah. I mean, things were, but I also had to mediate because the 2 roommates I had upstairs, they didn't like each other and they had a small war. So sometimes I had to mediate and, cool things down a little bit. But other than that, it was a pretty good deal. Of course, now they had no idea I was pretty much living there rent free because they were paying for the entire rent. But, they agreed to that price when I offered them the rooms. So I have no guilt about it.
Yep. Well,
it ends up being a win-win for each of you, right? It doesn't really matter whether they know how much you're making from them or not. But if the price is right for them and they're like, oh, this is fair rent, what's wrong with that?
Well, on the bird,
if they find you're paying your whole mortgage, should they be in a place to say, well, we can't be paying your whole mortgage? Like, that just, I don't know.
No, the best thing for them is that they both worked a 5-minute walk away from the house. So, it provided a lot of convenience to them. So,
well, no comment. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Where was I? I was reading something. I'll have to see if I can find this here. Talk amongst yourself for a minute.
Okay. I don't know who I'm talking to. Everybody's busy. It's like everybody's busy. It's like, I can talk to Ryan's picture. I can talk to Nate's ass, or I can talk to I'm just saying.
Oh,
it's like what's going on? It's like instead of getting some medication or something, I'll just talk for hours to myself.
How about crypto, guys? How about like just the prices of cryptocurrency right now? Everyone, when it was at 80,000, was like, man, if it's at 20, I'm buying. And now everyone's like,
well, I mean, here's the thing, too.
You knew that was going to happen, Nate. You knew that was going to happen, right? It's like a straw. It's got 2 ends and it's hollow. You know what I mean? So the wind goes right through it. It's just like, oh, I remember. Yeah, I'll buy when it goes down to this and this and this.
Well,
It's
I
like,
mean,
are you guys nuts? This is the time to be buying it. And
I mean,
Gensler comes out and calls Bitcoin a commodity now. Brian did his video on that,
yeah,
which was a good video. But I love how Ryan. We still have a big question mark beside XRP. Ha ha ha!
yeah. Well, here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, institutional investors, they've been waiting for Bitcoin to fall under some kind of regulation before they get in.
Yeah.
So even though Gensler has come out and called it a commodity, they still need to have something legally saying that that's the stance of the SEC. So even his word is not enough, but the fact that he said it indicates that that's kind of the way they're leaning behind the scenes. So it's just a matter of time. Plus, the other thing is you've also got the whole grayscale thing about to
Yeah.
happen. So grayscale needs to be ruled on in early July. And they've already said if they're not turned into, if their spot Bitcoin ETF is not approved, they're suing. And there's some other stuff going on behind the scenes with them too. So that's going to be really interesting to watch as this unfolds in July.
Do you get the emails? It's called, the title of it is Milan from Ledger. Do you get those emails?
I've
So the title is Hedge Funds Coordinate Margin Calls on Tether.
I don't have that one, but yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And I heard rumblings too. Now I don't have anything. This here is, to me, take this one with a grain of salt. But I have heard that things financially are not really great over at BlockFi, and that's
I'm out. I'm out.
that is
100%.
somebody.
You're absolutely right. They're taking loans from FTX,
Yeah.
and now Nexo and FTX are looking to buy them. Guys, I don't know about these like these custody places that are giving these high APY percentages. I just don't. I've never had a good feeling about them.
If you're in one of these, get out now while you still can. You know,
I've still got my USDC. I got about $1,400 in USDC to get out of BlockFi. Other than that,
get
all
it
my
out,
other
get it
my
out
all my ETH and my BlockFi and my Bitcoin are safe on Atomic for now.
Look at it this way. All the people who got trapped in Celsius had no warning. I'm giving you a warning right now. Get out now.
Yep.
You know, if you don't want to use a hardware wallet, then look at a hot wallet option, but get it out of an exchange. Don't have it in an exchange right now.
Yep.
Even no matter how safe the exchange is. Like I took everything that I had off of ShakePay. And I believe ShakePay is 99.9% safe, but I'm not going to risk everything on that 0.01% or whatever chance that something goes wrong there, because everybody thought Celsius was in fine shape. And
so you know what's funny is did we put our dot in Celsius?
Well, I don't know where you put your dot.
No, I put the same place you put it.
Oh, that's Kraken.
Huh?
You put the Kraken then.
In Kraken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got
Not Celsius.
Yeah.
Totally different temperature between someone's Kraken and their Celsius.
Well, Nate's got the mud.
Tim, I had a genuine question. So why are you and Nancy still trusting Ledden? It's the exact same beast as BlockFi.
I'm not in Ledden.
Ledden? Oh, okay. So that was I was always wondering, what is it about Ledden that everyone seems to trust over BlockFi? But okay. That whole proof of reserves thing, I don't buy into, but.
Well, you gotta believe it until it's not true. And I know that, oh my goodness gracious, what's Mario? Mario, I think, is going on the Bitcoiners podcast. And I think he was going to bring them up to date, whether that's actually taken place yet or if that interview is taking place or not yet. I know that he was coming on to sort of, I would imagine, talk about that as well. But unfortunately, BlockFi and all these other exchanges sort of paint Ledden with the same brush. And, I like Mario. I like the idea of Ledden. I like that it's Canadian based. However, I don't have much trust in anything right now. And anything that's of any net worth to me that's going to pop and make me life-changing money is off an exchange right now.
Yeah, and Gary's mentioned Revlon for the second time. Yeah, so Revlon did file chapter 19, so they're going bankrupt. Interesting enough, though, Wall Street Bets actually made a play on Revlon last week,
What?
and they drove the price up 600%. Well, the reason they did it is because where Revlon is sinking fast, a lot of the institutional short sellers have all been jumping on it, placing shorts. So what Wall Street Bets did is by doing a coordinated retail buy, they drove the price up, liquidating all these shorts. And when a short gets liquidated, the person then has to buy because they have to provide those stocks back to whoever has the other end of the contract, and that drives the price up even more. So that stock went up at the peak of the retail Wall Street Bets attack. It went up 600%. So just a nice little side story. I covered that on This Week on the Weekend, but for those of you who don't watch This Week, now you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of in this space. There's a lot of we're too big to fall. We are too big to fall. We have so much custody in cold wallets. We have so much, you know what? Maybe they're just really good web designers, because like a lot of these guys are falling and they're not saying anything about it until it's like, oh yeah, sorry, we just we halted all withdrawals because just trying to figure out some network issues here. No one else is halting withdrawals. That's weird.
If you think,
I guess I'll just wait it out.
But if you do think about it, by saying we're too big to fall, that inspires some false confidence. So that might be a way to generate more money pumping into you to maybe save you from falling, though most times it doesn't. It just delays the inevitable.
Absolutely.
I had a question for you guys, because I see Steve here. I got to go talk to Steve before he drives his new car off. So I just had a question for you guys here. Like, when it comes to keeping all your stuff on a cold wallet, because I've been always really curious on this. Now, this is pure tinfoil hat, okay? Pure tinfoil hat mode. But wouldn't that, because I sent Tim and Nancy a video from George Gammon the other day, wouldn't that make it easier for the government to say, one, the Bitcoins are off of the federal books, off of our public books, and just to come down even harder on cryptocurrency, just because of the fact that it being in cold storage, it doesn't actually affect, it's not money on market. So like, let's just say if they banned it and 90% of all cryptocurrency was in cold storage, that would actually really only affect the 10% of cryptocurrency, and it would actually impact the market on such a small level. I almost just wonder if like that push to cold wallet gives the government the ability, even more blanket ability, to tell us what to do, just simply because it's not kind of in the public. I don't know. That's totally random. I just had this thought the other day. Because if everything was on cold storage and they flipped the switch off, it doesn't impact anyone except those who have Bitcoin. Nobody's impacted except the ones who own it, right? So it's like the more you encourage cold storage, to me, it seems like the risk then is entirely on the crypto holder, as opposed to the kind of atmosphere and the infrastructure of the whole system. I don't know. Tinfoil hat question. Curious what you guys think.
Good question.
Well, for one, everything that's on in cold storage is still completely public. They don't know who you are, but they know the addresses. They know.
Yeah. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. What I mean though is, I don't care about public. I just mean it's not really public money. Yeah, it's like they can't get it. So if they shut it down, you, yourself, and you, that's it. You're impacted, no one else, and you can move on with your life, right? Whereas like if everyone had their stuff on a Ledin and BlockFi and ShakePay, let's just say, then that would impact the jobs of those at Ledin. ShakePay it would be far worse, for instance, than shutting down someone's access to cold storage, right? That was my question.
Yeah, the only problem is I think, and I hate to use these words, but Bitcoin is kind of too big to fail at this point, because there's just so much. It is so well entrenched in the financial systems pretty much worldwide. So even if one country shut it down, you could cash it out in another country. There's always ways around that. The only danger would be is if there was a coordinated world government basically shutting it down everywhere all at once. That's pretty much the only way you would be able to stomp out Bitcoin. But I don't think...
No, I get that. I just mean, though, that, like, for instance, if Canada decided to limit access or whatever, or China, whatever, and went full-blown Chinese mode on us for some reason, so then, yeah, Canada has to go travel to another country to access it. But if all of the Canadians' Bitcoin were on cold storage, then it means the Canadian government is very easily able to flip the switch without impacting anybody outside of crypto. And at the same time, yes, I still have my Bitcoin, but I have to travel 2,000 miles to get it. And then who knows what the tax implications will be in those countries who decide to actually accept it if other countries have decided not to, right? Because then they're going to take a piece of your Bitcoin before you even have the ability to transact with it in their country. I just think that the more that we move to cold storage, it actually puts us at quite a bit of a risk as a whole. Like, I don't mean the individual, I just mean like the crypto community, like by isolating our crypto so much. I don't know. It's always just been on the back of my mind.
I'm
Keep in mind, though,
not getting the train of thought, because if I have all my Bitcoin in cold storage and I'm within a community that can transact that Bitcoin, it's not just transacting it into fiat money. Like, I can, you know what, I want a deck built, so I'm going to pay you 0.002 Bitcoin. All right, guy comes and builds my deck, I give him 0.002 Bitcoin.
Yeah,
like,
that's not what I'm saying at all. Yeah, no, more what I'm saying is just the ability to over-regulate crypto to me seems like it gets easier the more is on cold storage.
the only problem is you have to realize too, when it comes to cold storage, I would say most people still aren't using it. And I think it's one of these things that'll be a slow to adopt because you have to buy extra stuff. And there's a lot of people
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like people named Tim who are like, oh, what if I forget all these passwords and pins and all of this? So I think there's a lot of people that just aren't ready to adopt it yet.
Keep in mind, folks, that was a pure tinfoil hat question.
Yeah.
It's just been in the back of my mind for a while because I always thought if it was all cold storage, it really does making flip the switch 1,000 times easier. Because then the only people who lose are really those in cold storage.
I don't
Whereas,
understand.
for instance, if all the money was in leaden, the whole planet, all their money was in leaden, and there was 20 billion workers, like, I mean, there's infrastructure in place, but when you remove to cold storage, you kind of take away that infrastructure. So that was the only thing that I thought was kind of counterintuitive.
I mean, the way it is, and the way Canada's politics work, if let's say Trudeau came out and completely banned Bitcoin, you know, we've got it all stuck in cold storage. We just have to wait until the Conservatives come back into power, and they'll turn it back on again.
Yeah, but you could deal with another country who deals in Bitcoin.
Yeah, you could absolutely.
Yeah.
You could still, you know, you can deal with anybody who's willing to still accept Bitcoin because
whereas
ledger
you're pooched if Trudeau was to pull something and you've got it on a Canadian hot wallet or exchange or whatever, then you're pooched.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking more like. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said, cryptocurrencies. I'm talking more like altcoins and stuff. Like when the government's going to come down and over-regulate, for instance, it just seems so easy if none of it's on the public exchange.
Well,
like almost like wiping out a market cap would be just too easy almost.
Yeah, and I know myself right now, because we're in a bear market and I guess a crypto winter, probably the only coins I would be willing to trust would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Litecoin. But outside of that, everything else, it's up in the air whether it'll still be around on the other side of this. So I think we're going to start seeing some of these coins start falling.
Okay, Steve, enjoy your vehicle, buddy.
Now, one coin,
Jared, he has your paperwork. Thanks, man.
One coin amazingly that actually did well in the metaverse just this week has been Sandbox. So Sand has actually been up a little bit. But that's because of MGM partnered with Sandbox. So just an interesting little tidbit. So that just shows me that something like Sand, for example, might probably survive. Maybe something like Axie Infinity, when you're talking metaverse, might survive. But all of these other little ones, hard to say. A lot of them aren't going to survive. And as an investor, I'm not willing to put my money on something and then hope it survives. It's like, no, I'm going to put my money in something that I know is going to survive, and I just have to wait it out, and I'll get a good deal right now because the prices are nice and low.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grifting in crypto, which really means there's a ton of tokens that have no utility and they really have no purpose, but they come across as if they do. And yeah, there's maybe a handful. How many tokens are there now? Like 25,000? Like,
Is there really?
It's absolutely insane. I don't know. 2,500? 10,000? I don't know. It's just, there can't be that many utilities. Like, come on, people.
No.
Like, this is getting insane. I think to your point, Ryan, exchanges will always be there. unless the government just shuts down the exchanges. Like, I think people will still, that's the easiest way to get it. Like, I will go to a Tim Hortons and, give a guy $50 to send me 0.01 Bitcoin or 0.00001 Bitcoin. But it's a lot easier for me to go on ShakePay and just press buy. So it's.
Wait a minute. Is Tim Hortons giving Bitcoin? What's going on now?
No, you got to meet a guy that wears.
Oh, you got to meet a guy like in the olden days.
Yeah. Like in 2011, 2013. Yeah. And it could go back. That's why I don't think Bitcoin was ever going to die. Every time they shut down something in China or wherever, these big mega places, just the hash rate goes down for a little bit, and then a month and a half later, it's back up to where it was, or it surpassed it.
So Nate, to answer your question, CoinGecko shows just on CoinGecko that there's 13,391 coins just listed on CoinGecko alone.
Yeah, that's insane. That's absolutely insane.
It is insane. It is insane.
How many of those coins are tied to rip-off Mario Kart type games? That's literally when I checked out. Every new game, every new application has a new cryptocurrency token. That's when I mentally checked out of altcoins. Was like every single new thing. And that, I think that was my biggest problem with the metaverse, is what do you choose and how do you go forward with it, and this and that and everything else. But it's gotten to a point where it's just so clustered. It's almost difficult to actually stay focused and know what's going on in the entire space. And it's like almost like I've come full circle, not caring, then over caring about Bitcoin, ETH, then getting really into the alts, then realizing what the alts are all about. Now I only care about Bitcoin and ETH. It's just a funny little cycle that it was almost too much too soon, I found, for me as a newbie at least.
No, that makes a lot of
Brian,
sense.
can I say something real quick? Like, you have gone full cycle crypto enthusiast. What happens? That's exactly what happens. People get into crypto because they're interested in Bitcoin. So they buy some Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden they see these alts like spiking like insane. And they're just like, man, it's all about the alts. And then all their alts crash, or they find out, wait, these are all scams. And then they just go back to Bitcoin. So what ends up happening is you just end up becoming a Bitcoin maximalist by the end. And that's okay.
I will say this though, Nate, nothing is ever going to take me away from Litecoin, bro. No way. Me and you, Litecoin bros to death, right?
Yes.
In the words of the friggin' Oracle, before you buy an altcoin, read the banana fuddling white paper. Seriously. Read it, see if it's got utility. If it's got no utility and it's just some kind of crap meme coin that has no real function, you're probably better off staying away from it. But if there is a utility that you can believe in and have some conviction, then you might want to dabble with that coin before. But make sure you read that white paper.
You know what's also interesting is that there are, get this, 526 exchanges out there. Wow. Wow. That is like, oh.
That's okay. I got an email yesterday from CoinSquare, and at first it nearly gave me a heart attack at first because I just glanced at it and I saw something about, about them pausing withdrawals. I'm like, what? No, it's happening in Canada. Then I went into it, and it's just because they're pausing withdrawals on Ether as they get closer to the upgrade. So it's just for the upgrade.
I saw that too, and I went, oh no, not CoinSquare. Oh God, no.
Because if it had been CoinSquare, I probably would have made a video on it, because that would have been tomorrow's video instead of what I have done.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know, folks. It's
funny. I was actually just going to say this about CoinSquare, because not long ago they cut referrals, and I was one of their bigger referrals. So we had a conversation about what was going to happen and yada, yada, yada. And they cut referrals weeks and weeks and weeks before Celsius. When they were talking to me, that they said they wanted to ensure that they were at stable financial grounds, the referrals would come back, yada, yada. So I just think it's funny that these places really did know something was about to pop off, because things have been changing and in the air for a long time. And when CoinSquare told me that they were going to stop paying me referrals and all this was a month and a half ago, and they stopped the whole program. And it's like nothing was in the air about Celsius or really, I mean, not too much. This was still when Luna was going to make everyone a billionaire. You know what I mean? So it was just funny to see, like, they knew something that we didn't. I think it was pretty interesting. And then you look at crypto miners, for instance, who were selling off Bitcoin at freakish levels months before we even had, an idea of what was going on. So it's just, it's almost funny to see, because it's kind of like a learning opportunity if we can start treating these as forward indicators and start seeing the outflows from some of these major players as maybe an indication going forward. But yeah, they knew something was up, man.
Nate?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times too, you can get some advance warning if you really start paying attention to the blockchain and the different transactions that are going on it. But you got to really be nerdy enough to sort of know what it all means to do that. But there are ways to do it.
Speaking of tracking the blockchain, actually, if you guys heard what one of the co-founders of Ripple's been doing over the last week and a half, selling off like almost every single piece of XRP that he has. And over 100 million tokens actually in the last little while, and they're all tracking this with his wallet. But that comes after news with XRP saying if we don't win, we're going to leave America. And it's not looking so hot for XRP when you get the co-founder selling all of his holdings and Ripple threatening to leave the country if they lose. Not to mention Gary Gensler coming out and really laying down the line on his definition of a commodity and a security when it comes to crypto. Kind of interesting to see where that's going to land.
You know that they're coming to Canada if they leave the U.S.
Maybe. I mean, they might come live in your backyard in a tent, because I mean, you got enough of it that they know you're a friendly. Now, XRP is one of these ones that I want to cheer for it, but I just can't get behind it. But I really would love to see them win, and I would love to wave their flag.
We'll know in a couple of months.
Well, that's what we said last year at this time too. That's one of the things about XRP. Last year at this time, it was like, yeah, by the fall, we're going to know everything. It's all going to be done. And we're now 1 year later, we're all, yeah, it's all going to be done in the fall. We're all going to know. So I'm not 100% confident that this is all going to end by the fall. It should.
The only thing I've never been able to understand is why can't we, like, Ripple would have been a really cool stock to invest in as a company to replace Swift. I have no idea what the purpose of XRP has ever been, when the company Ripple could have just issued shares and become a publicly traded company with a real purpose. And I have never understood it. I'm still to this day trying to wrap my brain around it. I feel stupid when I think about it, but it always seemed like a really cool business, and I just never understood XRP.
Well, we'll see.
Well, that's true. We'll find out soon. And I mean, that's a good idea, but I think as well, sometimes the earlier stages of crypto, I think they probably got all caught up in the coins and knew that they could probably sell the coins easier than selling stocks. But
yeah, it would have been a good stock to get into.
Oh, I would have rather bought the stock.
Yeah. But here we are. All right. Well, Nate looks like he's in a corner again.
Yeah.
You know what? He's got all these empty bedrooms. Nate, where does everyone live right now?
The chicken pen?
No.
Tents in the backyard?
No. Where is everyone living, man? If you're renovating the second and third floor, where's everyone living?
So we have been living on the first floor for the last year.
Oh.
So we have a living room that's about 20 by 16.
Okay.
And we have 3 bunk beds in there, 2 triple bunks and a single bunk, or a double bunk, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then our son, David, is in our room, and we are actually in the dining room at the front of the house.
Holy
yeah. So I've been working. So I get up around 6:30, work till 8, and then go to work, and then come home, and I'm up here hammering away at this stuff. So I put up close to 200 sheets of drywall.
Wow.
And it's essentially, so to get like a scale, if you had a bungalow, 4-bedroom bungalow, and with a basement, I am completely renovating your entire bungalow by myself.
Wow.
So that's.
I mean, you don't have any friends who could come help?
Well, yes, I do. Like they come out and help. Like, but now there's an issue with that, in that when you work on your own, like, you know the project you're going to do, but when you work with a bunch of buddies, you got to kind of like spend about an hour or 2 hours as part of the work project to direct in that.
Yeah, make sure they know.
Sometimes friends aren't super, like, they're super helpful, but they're not super skilled. But luckily enough, I've had a few friends that are fairly skilled and helped me to put up some of this drywall. I have a friend, Dave and Paula, that have been here a few times. My buddy Jordan has come for a couple of nights. But it's very, like, it's around their schedule too, right?
Now, are you doing all the electrical yourself as well, and the plumbing, or?
So I was going to, because you can do the electrical yourself. You have to go through the ESA, Electrical Safety Authority. But I got a master electrician to do my electrical because he was able to bang it out in like 3 days. So those are the times where sometimes you have to, like, kind of be like, okay, what's my time? That would have taken me probably 3 weeks to do. It took him 3 days to do it, which would be like rewiring a whole house. So yeah. And then same with my plumbing, my rough in plumbing, those guys came in a day and a half, got it all done. Would have taken me like 3 days to do it. Not that I can't do it and I don't have the skill set to do it. It's just, that time. It's that time. But then there's the budget, right? So bringing in an electrician is like 15 grand. So bringing in a plumber is like 6 grand. So, like, I'm not a rich person. I am not rich. You guys know what happened with my house and how I had to come up with, like, you know, almost $500,000 in a week to pay cash for it. So, like, just, yeah, it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah, 15,000, that's insane. Now, does that include the cost of materials, or is that just the labor?
Or are you talking about for the electrical?
The electrical, yeah.
That's all in.
No, that's all in. That's everything in. That's taxes.
That's a hefty charge. It was rather shocking.
Oh yeah, like all trades have gone up insane amounts. Even like, so I thought, you know what, I'll get someone to come in and mud and tape for me. So I got a couple quotes. Looking at $7,000 from one guy, another guy was $6,500. I had a guy come in. He said, "Oh yeah, I can do this for $2,500." And I was like, "You have a lot of experience?" He's like, "Well, I've done it a few times." I was like, "Okay." So, you know, on a hope and a prayer, I had the guy come in, and I told him after a few days, you know, maybe I'll finish. So just. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
But, you know, I took a flyer. I knew it was a bad idea in a way. I was like, okay, this guy's really low, but maybe when I'm like at work, he can be in here and doing it, and that's going to save me some time. But yeah, it may not save me much time. Sometimes
if you go for that dirt poor person, they're not going to do a really good job.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Candace, is like, I need to get this done by September so I can get some of my friends' money back to them. And like, people are like, yeah, I can come by in October. I can come by in December. Like, okay. So I'll be up here. I took vacation time this week, so I'm going to be for the next 6 days, full on, like 100% up here. So hopefully I'm going to get my first coat done in this room tonight. That'll be first coat done for the full second floor. Good. And tomorrow I'll do the second coat. Second coat will go a lot faster because then you're not embedding tape. And then hopefully by Monday we're painting in here, and then I'm tiling the 2 bathrooms we have, getting that done. And then I'll start taping upstairs as my wife is painting down here.
So now once you have that room finished, will you let the kids who are using that room move into it? Or do they have to wait for the whole upstairs to get done?
So once we have it painted, I have to install about 3,000 square feet of hardwood floor. So
Okay.
to get that done, and then we bought rough hardwood.
Yeah,
Actually,
you showed us the maple.
yeah. So there's a pile of it right there.
Ugh.
So it's not like it's called rough, but it's not terrible. Got to get that installed, and then see if I can get a piece out here for you guys. Yeah, so I have to do that, and then we're doing tongue oil on it instead of Varathane. Because Varathane's super smelly, and we want to be able to use it right away. So with the tongue oil, you can get on it right away. And it was a lot cheaper too. $600 for the. I don't know if you guys can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's some serious freaking wood, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's tongue and groove. We got it in Tilsonburg at a lumber yard, a mill, and so we got it for $2.50 a square foot. You want to get like hardwood flooring from your, Lowe's or whatever, you're going to pay like $6 a square foot. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
we saved a ton of money, but even in that, guys, like it still cost me almost $7,000 for all the flooring. Like,
Yeah, but that's quality stuff.
no, for sure, and that's gonna.
Ethan wants to know if you sleep.
Do I sleep? So once we're done here, I'll probably work till midnight or so, and then I'll sleep and get up probably around 6:30 or so, and then get back at it. So, but I have a full day ahead of me tomorrow. Like although I'm dropping my trailer off tomorrow at the Pinery, so we rent out our trailer. So I'm dropping that off for 10 days.
That's
so
good.
I have to do that. Yeah. So I think we're going to be, I'm pretty selective who I rent out to and the time period. So I rent out 5+ days only, nothing below that. And then only within a close range of us. So, I think we're getting about like 7,200 this summer for renting it.
It's all right.
Which is all right. I drop it off and then I pick it up 10 days, 7 days later or whatever. And so we do that through Outdoorsy because they do all the marketing and everything and so as soon as I drop it off tomorrow, the payment will go in my account on Friday. And then, so when I do my taxes and stuff, I claim that as rental income. I haven't incorporated or anything yet, but
Don't.
maybe it's some, no, don't do that. Just keep.
You're going to have. I am incorporated and have been incorporated for 30 years, and I'm moving back to being a sole proprietor. It's the amount you have to spend. I just spent $2,100 on a year end.
Wow.
Because it's a corporation, right? So you're better to keep it as a sole proprietor. Candace may have a different opinion, but corporations serve their purpose, but
yeah, and we get like we are like insured to the nines on these things, so
yeah.
So I'm not really worried about liability because that's one of the main reasons why you incorporate is for liability purposes, right? So that they don't come for your house and everything if it goes south.
That's not a concern. Then don't incorporate.
Yeah, and the way it was explained to me is I got an umbrella insurance. So the umbrella insurance, I've got $5 million.
Oh, I have the same insurance then. I'm with TD for my insurance, and I have.
So if you've got umbrella for $5 million for liability and stuff like that, then you're fine because that'll take away the question of what the purpose the corporation serves.
Yeah,
and it makes it really, really tough when you want to borrow in the corporation's name, because they come back to you. They will need you to back it up, and if you haven't got the income and stuff, then it's like it's better to do it as a sole proprietor because you've got more assets in your sole proprietorship than you do in your corporation.
So even with like our trailer rental, I'm not even like promoting it or anything. That's just like putting it on the platform. When I actually have time, I'll like do more promotion and stuff like that and try to get more weeks out of it. But that's essentially me doing nothing outside of like, and we're close to the Grand Bend racetrack as well. So I've brought it there a few times. I'm bringing it there. There's a Canada Canadian National Truck Show there in July. I'm bringing it there for like 4 days, and it's going to be like $1,100. That's like a paycheck for me, basically, for what I work. So that's not bad for like a few days.
If you're getting
right?
$7,000 or so, that's your hardwood floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Put the asset to work for you.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it would just be sitting in our driveway, right?
Yep. Well, good for you.
Thing that kind of sucks is we're not going anywhere this summer because of this renovation. But
well, you're probably saving yourself money by not going anywhere too.
Yeah, true enough. Anyway, so yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's good. Good for you.
Awesome sauce.
Well, we're all rooting for you.
Thanks, bud. I've had a few moments where I'm just like, you know what, this is too much. I'm gonna quit. And then my wife just comes in and is like, you know what, you just go off for a half hour and you just go pray and spend some time with the Lord, and then you'll be fine, Nate.
Yeah. Plus, he might give you some tips because I heard he was a carpenter.
What's that?
Said he might even give you some tips because I heard he was a carpenter.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And that's how I'm laying the hardwood. I'm like, Jesus, how do I lay this? Come on, buddy. Help me out here.
Normally,
Jesus,
I swing the hammer first, hit my toe, and then I say Jesus.
But there's a different twist to it. And he goes, Jesus, it doesn't fit. Cut it 3 times and it's still too short.
Right?
That's good. Well, Nancy has crossed the border. She is actually coming through Sarnia down the 402 now.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, she was in Grand Rapids. And she should be hitting in here about 11:30 tonight. And then she spends Friday and the long weekend in the warehouse.
Fun.
No, not fun.
No, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, not fun. Not good. Not good. So, anyway. Well, this has been good. Ryan, you still there? Hello, Ryan.
Yeah.
There you go. You still waiting for Steve to take his car, or has he already got his car?
I'm driving home. No, he's got it. He's good.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Oh.
Is it Scuba Steve?
It's Ryan.
No, he's talking about Steve in the car. Is it Scuba Steve?
Oh, yeah. No, Steve, he's gone. We're good.
So what you got going this week, Tim?
Not a lot. We got the big Canada Day thing going on. I spend my day in London tomorrow with clients. Yeah, I don't know. I may go up and help out at the warehouse, run some food, looking for a reefer truck to help out. But those things are far and few between to get your hands on. 16 feet and over, you have to get involved with CVOR, and it's like, no, I'm good. I don't need to get involved with that.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? So, but learning lots about that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What about you? You doing your?
Oh yeah. Well, tomorrow I had a request to do a PPL video, so tomorrow is my PPL deep dive. Now, if you're not interested in PPL, there's also going to be a tiny bit of a oil and gas sector boom update within it. So I'm trying to multi-purpose it a bit, plus a little bit more humor than normal. So got all of that going tomorrow. Saturday will be is a new video day. So there'll be videos coming out 9 a.m. every Saturday. And basically what it's going to be is it's going to be a news video. It's basically going to be some of the news stories that you see in this week on the live stream, but in a shorter, condensed, easy to digest video for people who don't have time to watch the live stream. Then, of course, the live stream on Saturday, and then another request video I'm going to do on Monday. Somebody asked if I could do a video on my regrets, things that I wish I had known when I started investing. So we're going to be putting that together for Monday.
That's good.
Or wait a minute. No, that's next Thursday. Monday is FIRE. Somebody also requested FIRE. I got a whole bunch of requests. So FIRE is your financial independence, retire early. We're going to take a look at that movement, explain what it is, explain how to do it, explain if it's something you should even be worrying about.
Interesting. Well, that'll be good.
And there might even be 1 or 2 shorts squeezed in there because I only do shorts on days that are not videos.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat. Nate, what do you got cooking? What I see now?
Yeah, pretty much. So while we've been doing this video, I have done all the corners in this room. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners. Yeah, I'll be working on the house. I don't know if I can take you guys around just to see maybe the hall
Now,
and stuff.
do you regret not making it into a round room? Because then you wouldn't have had to worry about corners.
Right? I don't know. That'd
They
probably
don't-
be kind of hard. So
They
here's
have to
the
have-
hall. That's
they
the
have to
hallway.
have- Oh, wow.
Bedroom.
I love the old doors.
Yeah, so I left the doors on.
Is that bird's eye maple?
No,
Or is that
it's actually just pine, and then they've put
That's
this
pine?
they put this lacquer on it to make it look wood grain, which is hilarious.
That's exactly what I was thinking it was.
What?
The maple?
No, pine with the lacquer on it.
Yeah, it's pine with a lacquer, and like this graining here is a stamp, which is hilarious. Yes, that's another room, and then over here, and then we have another room down there, and a room over there. And
Holy
yeah,
banana bread! You've got more rooms than an
Wow,
episode
that's-
of Scooby-Doo when they're being chased by the
It,
ghosts.
you know what? It looks much bigger when you put drywall up as opposed to looking through all the studs.
all the studs. Yeah.
It's like, holy geez, that looks totally different than what it used to look like. It's like, that's big.
Yeah, so I've done some update videos, and I'll put them up at some point in time as each process is kind of finishing up. So I've done 2 coats in the bathroom. Just need 1 more in here. Tub, shower surround, cement board.
Yep.
Water sealing it all. Yeah, so that's kind
Good
of
for you.
what I'm doing this week. Pushing away. So
Good for you. Good. Ryan, what's going on with you, man?
We'll see what the market turns up, dude. I find it really hard to plan stuff. The second I plan something, you get news that contradicts everything that you were just thinking 2 seconds ago. So we shall see if there's anything crazy to talk about. There's not a heck of a lot to talk about outside of really the news and data that's going to come out in mid-July. So we shall see. We shall see.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, everybody, I want to thank everyone for tuning in here. We shall see you all next Wednesday night. God, not forbidding. God willing. It's like, whoops.
okay. God forbid we see you.
God
next
forbid.
week.
Oh no, it's that shoveling 6 feet under again, isn't it? You know. So yeah, thank you, Candace, for taking the time. Nate, it was great to have you on and help you through those corners.
Thanks.
And Ryan, good as always to have you on, my friend. And yeah, we'll see everyone next week.
Bye
Night
bye.
all.
Bye-bye.
See ya.